each of our older kids has an iPad, but we only allow them to use them when we're traveling. Some people might think that that's a waste of money or very unnecessary, but let me explain. We travel with our kids a few times a year, so for me, iPads are necessary. When I go to visit my family, domestic flights do not have TV screens, and then with international flights, you usually have a pretty long layover, so it's just so much easier to keep them distracted when you're like at the airport waiting for 6 hours. There's only so much walking and running around you could do. And I am unfortunately one of those moms that like really tries to limit my kids' screen time. I wish I didn't care and I wish it didn't bother me, but anytime they're on a screen, I don't care what kind it is, I get so much mom guilt. So you might be thinking, okay, why don't you let them use their iPads for like the limited amount of screen time that they can have per day? And we actually did try that shortly after Arya started becoming like interested in screen time around 3. She was like very opinionated on what they were wanting to watch, and they were just always fighting on what they wanted to watch. So I was like, okay, why don't we take out the iPads and they can just each watch separately on their own iPads whatever shows they wanted for like the hour of screen time that they were allowed or whatever it was. That way everybody's happy, everybody can watch what they want. Well, after we did that for a little bit, I started to realize why they say that not all screen time is the same. Whenever they would be on their iPads, because they're the ones that would be able to control it, I just noticed that they were actually spending so little time watching a show and so much time just switching between shows, fast forwarding, going back, speeding it up. And screen time is already so bad for their attention span. So I was like, this could not be good for them. And it just made my mom guilt even worse. So yes, now they weren't fighting over what they were watching anymore, but I swear the iPads were like frying their brains. And then also whenever screen time was over, they would have such a hard time turning it off versus when they were watching on the TV and I could just click it off and they would be like fine with it. Because also with the TV, it was like, okay, when the episode's over, we turn the TV off. So it was kind of like a nice transition. Whereas on their iPads, because they're switching around between shows so much, it was never like the end of the episode whenever screen time was over. So it would just be like a sudden abrupt end and it would just upset them so much more. So one day when I was just so sick of the mom guilt of giving them their iPads and so sick of just like the fits that they would throw whenever it was time to close them, we just like cold turkeyed it. I think it was about 2 summers ago now. I remember sharing about this on my stories, and then we went back to only giving it to them when we were on the flight. And I also noticed that the iPad was a lot more effective on keeping them like occupied and quiet on flights because it was just like such a novelty and it wasn't something they always had access to. And I feel like there's always somebody that's like, well, my kids have access to their iPads or the TV whenever they want, it's always on, but they are fine leaving it, they are fine playing with their toys and like going to color or whatever. And I think that can be true for some kids, but for me personally, my kids would never be like that. I don't think that we would ever be able to cut out screen time completely. Like, I'm being realistic